right, thanks. I started Epicodus about a year ago. I'd started a software company a few years ago, discovered it was really difficult to hire programmers, and a lot of my friends were having trouble finding jobs. I read in the newspaper every day about high unemployment and stagnating wages, and thought, when I can't hire programmers and people can't hire jobs, something is wrong here. So I want to take a step back and tell you a little story about kind of how I got involved in technology to start off with. When I was a kid, we always had a computer in the house. My dad was a computer nerd and kind of raised me on stories of punch cards and whatnot. And when I was, I think, maybe like 5 or 6, he started teaching me how to use DOS, and we had one of those old 386s. And as I got a little bit older, he was like, "Hey, you can do more stuff." And I said, "Can I erase the computer and try to rebuild everything myself?" And he's like, "Yeah, go for it." And one of my best friends, her dad, was also kind of a computer nerd, and I'd always ask him questions about "Hey, what does L2 cache mean?" And he would tell me this stuff. And after a while, I started realizing that everything he told me was more or less wrong. But he was just trying to encourage me to get interested in programming, and I was just kind of feeding that interest. And I had a friend in 4th or 5th grade whose dad was a beta tester from Microsoft, and he was like, "Oh, you should read PC Magazine and Wired." And so I got really into those when I was a kid. And so I'm a lot of you probably had some of that same experience, kind of growing up with technology around you and some, growing up with computers. And I would bet that a lot of you in this room didn't have that experience. And a lot of you in this room maybe came from households that couldn't afford a computer, or your parents just were totally computer illiterate. Maybe they still are. Or you didn't have any mentors growing up. The people that, when I think of a computer programmer, maybe less and less these days, but for a long time it was, a man with a big beard and long hair in a windowless basement eating pizza and drinking soda. And, that wasn't really what I pictured. And it's not really what I pictured myself doing, but it's a very different picture than we have, if you're a woman, or if, you're African American or you're Latino, and that's not somebody that, you relate to or you see as a mentor. And so one of the things I'm really excited about with Epicodus is this opportunity that we have to kind of open up access to more people who didn't come from families with the kind of financial resources that people like me did, don't have role models who necessarily look like students in our class, don't have that kind of background and that kind of privilege that I was lucky enough to grow up with. And and so that's a big part of why I started Epicodus, was to try to open up these opportunities to everybody. And just about those opportunities, I said that from my personal experience when I started a web startup, it was really difficult to hire programmers. And so I started doing a little bit of research, and actually right now, things are better than when I started my company a few years ago, but the US, our unemployment rate is over 7%. For programmers, any idea what that is? -2. Yeah, it's under 3%, which is essentially negative. Economists say that a good rate of unemployment is around 4%, just given churn between jobs and whatnot, and people changing careers and that kind of thing. 4% is healthy, so we're in an unhealthy low state of unemployment for programmers and a very unhealthily high state of employment for the rest of the country. And median wages in the US, under $30,000. Median wages for programmers, over $90,000. So I studied econ in college. I love that stuff. But you don't have to be an economist to understand supply and demand, right? We don't have enough programmers. And we've got way too many people who are competing for that bartending job, for that for that waiting tables job. So many people that I know who went to college and got English degrees or philosophy degrees, and then we're like, great, now you have a piece of paper, go and find a job. It doesn't help you a whole lot. And so really, the whole point of what we're trying to do with Epicodus is train people in the jobs that actually are there, the jobs that companies are having a hard time filling, and help people get the skills that they need to get into those positions. And really trying to think about this from the point of view of, it's for so many reasons not sustainable to just say, well, there's only a certain kind of person who can be a programmer, somebody who grew up learning this stuff from a kid, somebody who had these role models as a child, somebody whose family had the kind of money and the kind of education and that kind of background to be able to bring their kids up to where they could see themselves as programmers. And so, Epicodus are people who were airplane mechanics, people who are bartenders, people who worked in call centers, artists, you name it. It's all represented. And so that's what I'm really excited about with Epicodus, is trying to bring people from other industries where work is harder to find and wages aren't so great into filling these jobs that companies, probably a lot of companies in this room, are having a really hard time filling. That's it for me.
Awesome.
Any questions? Yeah.
So are you working with all ages, down to like high school or even younger?
So the youngest student we've had in our 4-month class was 21. We just last weekend did a program with iUrban Teen Tech, which is focused on middle and high school students, primarily Black and Latino students, primarily boys, trying to get them interested in STEM careers. And so we are doing free workshops with them every month. And then, I'd love to be doing more stuff with high schools. It's a matter of me making the connections to the right people. I moved here a year ago, so I don't know anybody yet. Yeah.
What kind of development do you teach?
We primarily focus on web. But we really try to teach good fundamentals. It's like five years ago, everybody would laugh at you if you said you were a JavaScript developer. Now, JavaScript, everybody's trying to do that, right? Like 10 years ago, Ruby on Rails didn't exist. Now you can't hire Ruby on Rails developers. Right now, so we teach JavaScript and Ruby, but what we're really trying to teach is good programming fundamentals so that when you get in a job doing C# or PHP, or your Ruby shop decides to write a big new app in Node, all of these things have actually happened with Epicodus graduates, that you're able to go into the job and pick them up.
Trouble with people who have come to you and when you've looked at their skill set, they just don't have some of the background that they need in order to start to, even at the low end, in development?
Yeah, so right now, we basically, you have to complete if you've been programming for a while, is like the simplest of the simple programming challenges, the FizzBuzz test. If you haven't ever programmed before, it's like impossibly complex. And so we have, our entire curriculum is available for free online, and the first chapter of it gets you to the point where you can do FizzBuzz. And that's all free online. We're also, like I mentioned, doing Wednesday evening free workshops from 6 to 9. Our office is like 5 blocks from here, Southwest 5th and Oak. And yeah, so I feel like, we're trying to expand access. We aren't where I want to be. We're trying to make it easier and easier for people to get into this program and to be able to change careers the way that I want to make it easier for people to be able to. Yeah?
Sorry, you said it really fast. When were the free workshops?
Thank you. The free workshops are Wednesdays from 6 to 9 p.m. Our address is on epicodus.com, which I can pull up the URL so you can write that down. Or I guess you can figure that out, epicodus.com. Our address is on there somewhere. If you email hi@epicodus.com, I'll reply to you personally. Anybody else? Yeah.
What's your placement rate?
For our last class, it was 100%.
Wow.
We had 21 graduate from that class. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. So if you pay the whole tuition within a week of enrolling, you pay $3,400 for the class, which actually just found out, if you want to get a web design programming degree from PCC, it costs about $9,000. I didn't realize that we were that much less expensive than community college. And that takes you 2 years. We'll do it in 4 months for you. Yeah, if you can't afford $3,400 up front, totally understand. Pay $200 when you sign up, and then pay $600 a month for 8 months after the class, which, if we're able to work together well, we can get you into a job, and it shouldn't be too much trouble. Yeah?
What's your dropout rate?
In the last class, we had 24 students start. 1 left because of family emergency. 2, we didn't have the FizzBuzz test for the last class. 2 were done within a month, and then the rest finished up. This class, we, fingers crossed, 0 so far. Yeah. Yep.
Could this be applied to learning mobile that quickly?
Potentially. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Can this be applied to learning mobile? So, there's kind of like two branches of learning mobile or doing mobile development. One is use web technologies and then wrap it up into an app that can be delivered through the App Store. The other one is write the app in Java or Objective-C. And so, our students can write these apps in web technologies that you can wrap up into a mobile app. That's fine. We use tools that like Groupon writes most of their mobile apps in Ember.js. We teach Ember.js. But in terms of native, again, we try to teach good programming fundamentals so that if you hire somebody and they're like, yeah, we want you to now build the Android app, our students should be able to go and learn it, maybe not as fast as somebody who's been doing it for a long time, but they can get up to speed.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael.
All right, thank you.